years.
Yeah.
Talk about your preparation and how you feel today, knowing the work that you and your staff have put in.
Yeah, so in any election takes months and months to prepare for, and I don't think some of the individuals realize how long it takes to prepare for an election. So this election is our second biggest election that we conduct, a gubernatorial general election. But it's the same preparations for a lot of these elections, as far as the way you proof the ballot, prepare the equipment with logic and accuracy testing and all that. What we do anticipate, larger crowds, and so we want to make sure that we have our full complement of poll workers, which we do, which is great. I mean, this is our third election this year, and this is the first time where we were able to go in with the full complement. And usually the bigger the election, the more interest there is in individuals wanting to work the polls, which works out well for us in that regard. Our education usually steps up in these types of elections, informing voters what the processes are, because unfortunately there's a lot of people who don't vote every election. They come out once every 4 years or in these even year generals, and so they just maybe forget what the process is, and we kind of re-educate them again. So we try to put a lot of efforts into that. But really it's kind of the same model. You just expand and contract the size of it. The integrity and the due diligence, that's always there. But again, we grow some of these things, are like early in-person voting, way bigger than it would be in some of these other smaller elections. So you have more staff, and you do some other things like have more traffic control and things like that to account for those types of things. So.
Any indication on early voter turnout at this point? You say the polls are busy, but any numbers at this point that you're seeing?
I think, and this would be combining the absentee with where we are. I think we're at about 28% turnout at this point, which is greater than the May and August elections individually. Everything is an educated guess, and you look to the past, and the guess is about 55% turnout for this election, which would be. It should be higher because voting is that important. However, that would be a good, solid turnout compared to some of the past. So I think that even though, again, like vote by mail is down a little bit, I think individuals adjust and just find that they take advantage of one of the other ways of voting. And so at this point, Election Day is the only way to do that. And we had kind of heard that some individuals were going to step away from the mail and go to the polls on Election Day.
Yeah. I was going to say, any comment on the law that Mayor Vick signed in, basically 3 days of prison can harass an election?
I actually have not read it. I just heard about that today. I will say, the concept of protecting the poll workers is excellent. It should be there. These individuals, they work hard. They don't get paid a whole heck of a lot, and they should be able to go do their civic duty without fear of being harassed. So, as far as the ins and outs of what the penalties are or that, I'm not familiar with it, but actually doing something to make sure that these individuals have some protections, I'm all for that.
Yeah, yesterday the Secretary sent out some numbers statewide reflecting that a record-breaking, I think it was about 1.5 million people chose to vote early statewide, whether that was in person or through the mail. Are we seeing that same trend of that record-breaking early turnout here in the county? And maybe you could speak more broadly to why we see kind of this early surge in this particular election.
So again, our vote by, so Cuyahoga County always leads the state in vote by mail. We always have a robust turnout. We have for over a decade. It is down 15% from where we would want it to be from 4 years ago, but it's still 130,000 plus, which is a nice number. So that there, again, I don't think there's less enthusiasm. I think it's a change in the way that people want to vote. Now, the early in-person voting that we had that concluded on Monday, that was a little bit higher than 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, we were like, wow, that was record-setting at that point, and we beat that by about 1,000 this time. So that's good. I think people become more familiar with the option, and in 2020, we had a whole lot of people, because of the pandemic, come down and vote early in person. I think some people liked it. If you come more towards the beginning of the process, you can get in and out pretty quickly, but then you wait till the last week and the lines get a lot longer. But people know that, And some people come because they want that, and they want the feeling of community and being together, and everybody's here, in support of democracy. And so, that's a great thing too. And some people just all of a sudden have a conflict today, so they come down and do that. So it's great to see that happen. It's a way, again, it's for someone to cast a ballot before Election Day. They don't have to worry about going to the mailbox and doing that. They just come right here, get it done. And it's a good process, too, because a lot of our staff are here, and they're able to help facilitate that, which makes that process go pretty smoothly.
Is that about it, guys?
I got one more. Just a quick, like a civics lesson for people. You expect, after work to be kind of a rush. If you're in line at 7:30, stay in line. Don't, still vote.
Correct. So as long as you are in line at 7:30, you are eligible to vote. And so if there's a line, we'll put a marker, a person at the end where the line ends, or if you're inside the voting room by 7:30 and we're able to close the doors, if you're in, and you go ahead and you get the opportunity to cast your ballot, however long that takes to facilitate the process. If that does happen, we talked about us reporting results. It only delays it a little bit, but that's okay, because that means somebody exercised their right to vote. And again, whether you have the results at 12:30 or 1:30, they're the results, and they are, but as long as they're accurate and complete, and everybody who wanted to have the opportunity to vote was given that opportunity, that's our focus. All right. Thanks, everybody. Yeah.
We'd heard something about Langston Hughes.